Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting on my vegetables and making things that take a little bit longer. Like today I'm going to make some pork belly, some stock, some coleslaw. I'm going to soak these chickpeas for tomorrow for a curry. And for that I'm also going to make a curry paste. So this is just going to soak overnight for tomorrow. So those are ready to go. And yeah, we'll just get to chopping first, and then I'll do all the other things. So I have one spring onion left, so I'll just cut that up. And I want to make a chunky salsa, and I'm just going to mix this in after I pulse that in my food processor. So I'm just going to cut it up relatively fine. So we're just going to start off with the menu. So today is Sunday. On Sunday, I usually have sandwiches for lunch. I don't really do breakfast, by the way. But yeah, normally I eat the low-carb, keto-friendly lunches, except for the weekend when I have my cheat days, and I'll have some bread for Sunday, because I do miss bread sometimes. And then for dinner tonight, I'm going to make some chicken burgers. So I have some whole wheat rolls, and then I'm going to take some chicken thighs, and I'm going to bread them with some panko breadcrumbs and some harissa seasoning, and yeah, some pickles, some lettuce, all of that. I'm just going to throw the chicken in my air fryer. So I have a whole bunch of garlic. So I need, for my stock, I need a couple of cloves. I'll just leave them whole. Then for my curry paste, I'm also going to keep a few whole ones. I'm just going to put that directly in my blender for later. I'm not going to blend everything up now. I'm going to cut everything first and collect things in the blender and everything, and then I'll do everything at the end. So a couple cloves of garlic for my curry paste. Let's put this aside. And then I have a few cloves here for my chunky salsa. I am going to blend it, but I don't want to over blend it. I want to have it chunky. So I'm going to pre-chop my veggies before they go in. So at the last minute, I just have to do a couple of blitzes, really, so the tomato doesn't turn into a paste, basically. I want some chunks. So I'll just do a really rough chop. There we go. And that can go in my food processor bowl that I'm going to be making my chunky salsa in. So while I'm on my chunky salsa, I also need a little bit of onion. So some red onion, I'm going to do half an onion. And again, I'm just going to cut that relatively fine. You can do this as coarse as you want, but because it is going to blend, but I don't want to have it too chunky. So that can go in with my salsa things. And then the other half, as well as this one, I'm also going to dice up, because I'm also going to make some coleslaw. For that I need some finely diced onion, and I'm also going to put some in my tuna salad on Friday. So actually I don't need quite that much for my tuna salad, so I'm going to do slightly more than half an onion for my salsa. So this can go in a container. Oh yeah, we were on the menu. So we did Sunday. On Monday, I do meatless Mondays. For lunch, I'm going to have some cauliflower wings with some coleslaw. So for cauliflower wings, I just need some florets that are roughly chicken wing shaped. And I need an egg and some almond meal and some spices. So if you look at my Instagram post for today, I actually put like everything you need for the whole week, including pantry items like rice, noodles. So just let me know what you think. So if you want to make all the meals that I'm making now, you'll have a complete list. So this get another bigger container. This bigger container is where I'm going to make my coleslaw. So might as well put that in here. So, and for dinner on Monday, I'm going to make a vegan curry with chickpeas and lentils. That's why I needed to soak the chickpeas. The lentils don't really need soaking, so I'll just throw those in tomorrow. And I'm just going to use a mixture of red and green because the red will dissolve basically and thicken up the salsa, the curry, and the green ones will stay whole and they give a little bit of a different texture. And the same with the chickpeas, they'll stay whole as well. So that was a red onion. Then for my soup, I need this yellow onion, well, my stock. So I'm gonna braise the the pork belly, and that braising liquid is gonna turn into my stock for ramen. So I'm just roughly cutting this onion, and I'm just gonna put that in with my other stock ingredients. So that was Monday. Then on Tuesday, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do coleslaw with some chicken drumsticks. Whenever I make the coleslaw, I make a bigger batch, and I just have it for several meals in that week. So just some chicken drumsticks from my air fryer. I really like that. Really low in fat and everything, so just a great way to make them. So next up, I have a bunch of these shallots. These are going to go in my curry paste, and also for the curry paste, whenever I make that, I also make a big batch. So this week, I'm going to have a vegan curry, and probably next week I'll have a curry with meat with the same curry paste. So for my curry paste, I'm going to make that in my blender, like I said, and I'm just going to roughly chop. Well, first take the ends off, and then cut in half or in quarters these shallots, just so they're easier to spin around in the food processor. So Tuesday for dinner, I do Taco Tuesdays. I'm going to make some pork belly tacos. So I'm going to use probably some barbecue sauce with that. I could also do some sriracha or something. We'll just see. And I have these nice colored hard taco shells. I have some red ones that are colored with beets and some green ones that are colored with spinach. Then I'll probably also put some coleslaw in those tacos as well, just for a different texture. And to have some greens in there. So then we're on Wednesday. For lunch, I'm going to do cauliflower with some pork belly. Again, I'm making a big batch of pork belly, so I'm using it in different ways in several meals. And I think I'm going to do a cauliflower mash, but I'm not entirely sure yet. I could also still do just some regular cauliflower. So, and then for dinner, I'm going to make some rice bowl with the chunky salsa, pork belly. Maybe I'll add some corn as well. We'll just see on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, more coleslaw. And I think I'm going to have a pork chop with that. I still have some in the freezer, I think. And if not, I can always get something else out of the freezer. I know I have chicken breasts, chicken thighs, chicken drumsticks. So we'll just see about that. And then for dinner, I'm going to make some pork belly ramen. So I'm going to use the braising liquid as a stock. Have some pork belly with that, some snow peas, some noodles, some mushrooms, all that jazz. So for my burgers tonight, I also want some cucumber. Well, not burgers, chicken sandwiches. So I'm just going to slice these up. Just have this small Persian cucumber. So now we're on Friday, Fish Friday. For lunch, I'm going to do some low-carb crackers with tuna salad. So tuna salad is made with a can of tuna, some celery, some red onion, some mayo, and I might throw in some curry powder. then for dinner, I have some salmon in the freezer, and I'm gonna have that with some oat rice and some broccoli. So, what are we gonna do next? Let's do some chilies. So for my curry paste, again, I'm just gonna cut them roughly so they fit into the blender more easily. Just like that. And just get that in the blender. And then this one is gonna go in my salsa, and again, I'm just gonna give it a quick chop just so that I don't over mix it when I make my salsa. Okay, I can go in with that. Then I have some tomatoes. So for my curry, I need some diced up tomatoes. I don't have to dice it too fine, but it just helps it break down a little bit easier if I cut it up a little bit. So I just have 3 tomatoes here. And you just cut them as rough as you want. You can quarter them 2 or 1/8 pieces, or just get them down a little bit so they break down faster. And then I also have these cherry tomatoes here. These are gonna go in my chunky salsa. And I'm just gonna take the crown off and cut them in half just so they blend easier, same as the other ones. So I'll just do with that with this whole little cup of tomatoes. Okay, that's tomatoes done. Then next up, I have some celery. So one of them I'm gonna cut, well, first I'm gonna cut the ends off all of them. But then one of them I will cut into little cubes to go in my tuna salad, just like that. And since that is going into my tuna salad with the diced red onion, I'll just use the same container for that because I don't have a lot of either of these. And then these other 2, I'll just cut rough to go in my stock. And this can go in with the rest of my soup ingredients. Then next up, I have a carrot. I'm gonna use that for 2 things. I'm gonna use that for my coleslaw, and I'm gonna use that for my soup. So in the list of all the ingredients that you'll need, I wrote like 2 or 3 carrots, but I have these massive ones instead. So I'm just gonna use half of this with my julienne slicer because this is much more even and quicker than I can do it by hand. My knife skills are decent, but it doesn't beat a julienne slicer. So yeah, I'll just do half of this carrot. And in case you missed that, I just put that in the same container as my diced red onion for my coleslaw. So then the other half of this carrot, just take the tip off. I'm gonna cut it in half lengthwise, and I'll just do little half medallions. Doesn't need to be too fine because it's gonna go in a soup and it's gonna cook for a long time, but reasonably fine because I might want to blend this up for my my soup base. That's all the carrot, and I can just put that in with the rest of the soup ingredients. And then here I have some cilantro. I have a fresh bunch, and then from the last time I also saved these stems. So the stems are gonna go in with my curry paste, and the same with this. Just gonna cut the stems off. Those are gonna go in my curry paste. And the leaves, I'm just gonna cut reasonably fine. Again, I don't wanna overmix my salsa, so I don't have to be too delicate with it. Just can give it a nice rough chop. And that can go in with my salsa ingredients. Oh, and for my salsa, you saw me use a green chili. You can use any chili you want, but I choose green, the contrast with the tomatoes. So, but red would work too if that's what you have. What else? I have some lemongrass here for my curry paste. Take the tip off, and again, just gonna give that a rough chop, just so that goes a little quicker in the food processor. There we go. Get that in. Next up, let's do some broccoli. So I have a little bit of broccoli left over, and that's perfect for one meal. I'm just going to make sure these pieces are bite-sized. This is for a Friday with some salmon. There we go. That's enough for one portion. The stems I'm gonna save. Maybe next week or something I'll do some cauliflower stir fry or broccoli stir fry with stems. The only thing I always do, like these little remnants of the leaves, I always take those off. But the rest you can use the stems apart from this little end that's cut off because that's a little dry. You can use the rest of it for all kinds of things. So that's broccoli, and then I also need some cauliflower. So I need that for two things, like I said. I need that for my cauliflower wings. I'm going to take pieces about this shape and size because they kind of look like wings. And then also I'm going to use the rest for just either mash or just regular cauliflower. So I'll just do enough for those two portions. And I think that is enough. So I will just save this for probably next week. Then I'm making good progress with the chopping. Next up, I have this little red cabbage. You can use any kind of cabbage, but I just saw these at the market yesterday. I like the color, and I also like that these are pretty small, so I can just use one whole one instead of having to like cut the other one in half, and then I don't know what to do with the other half, or take off the leaves, which take a lot more time than just cutting it like this. So I just quartered this, and I'm cutting out the little core. And then I'm just going to dice this, or not dice this, slice this as thin as possible. And that's going to go in my coleslaw. And I'll just put that in with the rest of my coleslaw ingredients, and I'll just finish the rest of this. And then here I have a whole bunch of mushrooms. So I don't remember what these are called, but these are gonna go in my stock, and also I'm gonna saute some, mainly for a garnish for my my ramen. So the ones I'm gonna use for my garnish, I'll just keep over here. That is plenty. And the rest, just make sure I'll take the ends off. That's a little earthy. I'll just loosen them up, and again, take the little end off. And these are just gonna go in my stock for some flavor. So that's these done. And then I also have these are Oesterswammen in Dutch. So I think the English word is oyster mushrooms. But I'm not entirely sure. So again, just gonna give that a rough chop for my soup. And then some of these I will also slice up for my garnish. And I'll just cut them lengthwise just for looks. Okay, there we go. I'm not a massive mushroom fan. I don't really like the texture of them, but I like the flavor in things like some soup or stock. I want that savory flavor. So that's why I put those in. Then the last thing, I have some ginger and some turmeric. So just gonna peel those. I'm gonna put a glove on because turmeric stains really bad, and I don't want to have yellow fingers for the rest of the day. So let me just quickly peel all of these. And if you're wondering how bad turmeric stains, well, if you've ever seen those Tibetan monks with that orangey yellow color of their robes, that's stained with turmeric. And yeah, just look at my glove right there. So you definitely want to use gloves for that. And then this can just go in my blender. And that took us just under 30 minutes. So that's all the cutting done. Now let's get to mixing everything up. So my curry paste, I'm just gonna put in my blender and get that going. And while this blends, I'm just gonna cut this lemon in half and juice that into my salsa. Oh, and just to recap, this is shallots, garlic, ginger, turmeric, chilies, and cilantro stems. So that is the curry paste. That is done now. As you can see, that's nice and fine. You don't need a blender, by the way. You could just use a food processor bowl, but I was already using that for this. So yeah, I'm just gonna finish the salsa now. So recap, I have some cherry tomatoes. You can use regular tomatoes. You can just cut out the core and just cut them up slightly smaller. I have some red onion in here, some chili, some cilantro, some garlic, and I'm just going to juice in my lime. I'll add in a little bit of cumin and some salt. Put the lid on, get this on the thing, and I'll just pulse this a few times. Just as I was pulsing that, my camera overheated, so I need to let that cool down for a few minutes. So as you can see, it's still really chunky. I just transfer that to another container so that can go in the fridge. And I also transferred my curry paste into a glass jar because I don't want it to stain any plastic container. So in the meantime, I also preheated my Ninja Foodi. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of oil. And to that, I'm gonna add my whole cloves of garlic, my onion, my carrot, and my celery. So I'm just gonna saute that for a bit. And I'm also gonna add a little bit of salt to that. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna put away everything I don't need anymore. So while that sautés, I'll make my coleslaw. So for that, I have my cabbage. I'm using red cabbage. I have some carrot and some red onion. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and some pepper. For this, I like to use pre-ground because I don't want the chunky bits in here. Normally, I use the peppercorns for everything else. So a little bit of mustard. I'm just using French mustard. And I'll add a bit of mayo. Now, don't add too much mayo at the start because the salt is going to draw some of the moisture out of the vegetables. So you don't want to have it get too wet. You can always add a little bit more mayo if you think you need it. But I'm just going to mix this up. I feel this is just a little too dry. So I'll add a little bit more mayo and mix that in. Give that a little taste. Yeah, that doesn't need anything else. So this can just go in the fridge and that's ready to go for the next couple of days. And the vegetables have started to soften a little bit. So now I'm going to add my different mushrooms and I'll just let that saute for a little bit longer. And in the meantime, I'm just going to prep my pork belly. So I have a nice piece of pork belly. I'm just going to cut it this way, just score the skin. And then turn it 90 degrees and cut the other way, and this way the fat can render out easier. So now that the vegetables have softened, I'm just going to add some water and I'm going to add my pork belly. I'm going to place it on top of the vegetables skin side down so that has the best chance to all render out. Make sure the meat is mostly submerged. Then I'm going to put on my pressure cooking lid, make sure the valve is closed. Switch this from saute to pressure cook. And this is a thin-ish piece, so I'll give that 40 minutes. so that can do its thing, and when that is ready, then I'll come back to close out the video. Okay, the pork belly is done. When it's time to use that, I'm just gonna cut off a piece and air fry that to get that nice and crispy, and then I can slice that up and serve that on top of my ramen or in my tacos or whatever. So this will be for like 4 meals. And then here I have the braising liquid, and I'm just gonna blitz that up when it's time to use it so it gets nice and creamy. There's a lot of fat in here from the pork, so it has a nice porky flavor, and that umami from the mushrooms. So that's all ready to go. And that's all the prep work done for this week. So now I can have lunch or dinner on the table in minutes. If you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see all the meals I make with the ingredients that I prepped, you can check out my Instagram, which is linked in my profile, where I post every single meal. So leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.